So after creating 8-figure companies 4 different times, I've created a framework that just makes scaling to 8 figures so much easier. And I'm going to share this with you. Now, first step before you launch a company is finding a company to model. Now, if you find a company that has already done $10 million a year, you have a proven model that you can replicate. Now, what you want to do is when you find your company that you're going to model, well, look at what they have already figured out. Look at their market, their pricing, look at their method, look at the type of product they're selling, look at the channels that they're selling as well. So for this competitor, we know that, hey, they're targeting moms. They're targeting stay-at-home moms with their offer. They are selling a low ticket on the front end at $47, and they're actually selling a $2,000 offer, and then on the back end, they're actually selling a $20,000 a year mastermind. Okay. And then afterwards it goes into a recurring because it's a mastermind that is a recurring as well. So this is a proven pricing model. The method that they're using to sell is they're using a challenge, right? Their offer is a mastermind and their community, right? And they're selling a done with you model with the challenge as well, right? So these are the products that they're providing, and their channels are they're using Facebook for advertising and they're using YouTube. So now you have a proven model, you have a proven template. These are all the combinations that they have already figured out that you don't have to, right? It might have taken them years to figure this out, to figure out this winning formula to make $50 million a year. Now you have to just model what they're doing and just make it 5% different. How can you make it better? How can you make it different enough, right? Maybe they are going after moms, and you can think about going after moms in just Europe, or you can go after moms in just America, or you can go after dads, so just an idea. Probably may not work if they're selling to moms and you try to deviate too far away, and instead of trying to sell to moms, you're going to sell to grandmoms, grandmothers. That's probably not going to work. You don't want to deviate too far away, just make it 5% different. And here you have the proven blueprint of a $50 million a year business, right? And the further away you deviate from it, the higher degree of risk you introduce into the company, right? So just make sure you're taking the right amount of risk. What might happen is, for example, if instead of selling to moms, you start selling to moms in Europe, right? Because you have a British accent, then you might have to adjust the pricing. Instead of selling it for dollars, you sell it for pound, and there might be less financing plans. So instead of trying to sell your mastermind for $20,000, now you have to adjust your pricing to $15,000. So these are just some things to consider. You can also, because this is a fairly complex operation, instead of selling a $47 low ticket, you want to keep it more closed, and you want to just sell the mid ticket, the webinar, as opposed to selling the challenge. Again, this is a $50 million business, but maybe, you go to Wayback Machine, it's another website. You could see that, hey, 2 years ago, they didn't have this many products. They just had one product. And then from that one product, they were just selling one of these products, and it was the $2,000 offer. And then on the back end, they would sell a $20,000 offer. So these are things that you have to think about when you're making it 5% different. Make it different enough so you're not a copycat, but just don't make it too different, too drastically different, that now you're taking a much bigger risk when you're launching your business. But I sincerely believe as long as you have a company to model that is making money, then your risk is 10 times lower, right? So a lot of people think starting a 7-figure, 8-figure business is a lot harder than starting a 7-figure business. That's not true. You just have to model a company that is doing 8 figures and follow them step by step. Doesn't mean you do everything they're doing from day one, but at least you have a path. Okay, so that's the model. Okay, now that's the first framework that I think about. The second framework is what brings more order into a company. So getting to 7 figures, you can get to 7 figures fairly easily. You can do 100K a month with just doing this. Okay, but you're going to introduce a lot of chaos, and you won't be able to scale to 8 figures unless you create a company production system, okay? It's like a factory. When someone buys your product, create the entire production system. What does that look like? Well, what happens is I run an ad online, and from the ad they go to an opt-in page, then from that they go to a VSL, and then from that they go to a application on Jotform, then from that they go to a calendar page. Then after they fill out calendar, there's like setters that take that initial call, and then they transfer the call to a closer makes a sale, and then onboarding happens, and then after onboarding there's fulfillment, and then they have a positive experience and they give a testimonial, and people that are succeeding, we invest in them and we advise them. So this is what a company production cycle can look like. And then what you do is you create a production system for every step of the process. Okay, so for example, you just take one of them, like the setter process. Well, in order for you to scale, you're gonna need enough setters, right? So if I'm doing $1 million and I know my competitor's doing $10 million, I have a system that's already working. It's just that my system has bottlenecks, okay? So brainstorm solutions to your bottlenecks. So for example, if you don't have the reason why you may not scale from 7 figures to 8 figures, from $1 million to 10 million, is because you don't have enough people to take these calls. You need more setters, right? So then you go deeper into each system and create the production system for setters. How do you bring on more setters into your team? And then you map that out, and you see, okay, we make a job posting, and then from a job posting we review applications, we get a bunch of applications, we interview people, then we hire people, then we onboard people, and then we let new setters shadow our existing setters, and then we give them the 100,000 lead test and see how they perform, and we give them feedback, right? And then we promote or fire. Now you have a system that a manager can follow, and you have an SOP basically. And what you can do is you can highlight where you have gaps, right? So if you have gaps, it's like, hey, a manager has to like do the job posting, they have to review the applications, they have to interview people, they have to hire people, and then they have to onboard people. Like, manager doesn't have enough capacity, right? So you like highlight the bottlenecks, and then you brainstorm solutions to those bottlenecks, and those bottlenecks shift over time. So mapping out the production system just makes things super clear for every step of your business. And when you have this written out, you can see, okay, what, like there's 5 different things to do. What should we prioritize right now? And you just focus in on those bottlenecks and you just solve them one by one. And you can create like quarterly goals, but none of these solutions actually works unless you have the next step figured out. And like, I've made so many mistakes with this, because this step is really the difference between having a $5 million company or having a $50 million company, or having a company that's not doing anything at all. So this is how I identify A, B, or C players, right? So on the x-axis, we have people that are disciplined. You know, when you look at the great basketball players, they had a level of discipline, right? Kobe would show up every single day, but start practicing 4 a.m, right? That's discipline. And capability is, are they capable? Do they have the natural talent? In tennis, there's this player, Nick Kyrgios, phenomenally talented or capable, but Nick just doesn't have enough discipline, right? And so you want both, right? And people that don't have either, they're C players. And with C players, you can't really coach them up, just fire them. You don't want them in your company, they're gonna lose you money. Then there's this area. What do you do with these folks? Well, these folks are the B players, right? Do you fire them? No, don't fire these folks, because you can still run a company with B players. You probably just don't want them running the company. You don't want them leading the company, operating the company, but these folks can be in your company, right? So people over here are disciplined, but they're just not very capable. So what do you do with these folks? You try to train them up, right? You increase their capability. Some people might be able to rise to the occasion and they become, better copywriters, they become better salespeople, they become better operators. But like, you try to train these folks, right? It takes time. You try to invest in them. And if they rise, right, they go over here, great. You turn them into an A player. Whereas if they don't, then you just keep him and you just keep him in that role. Now there's these other type of folks which are very capable and they're just not very disciplined. They're like, they have that A player potential. They just, whatever you send their way, they'll get that done. But they're not super disciplined. They don't have that discipline. Like Nick Kyrgios, right? The tennis player. He's a solid B player, right? He's never going to be the top 3 tennis players like for an extended period of time. He might win a championship here and there, but he's very erratic. He doesn't have the discipline. And so when you are looking for the operator in the company, you don't want someone who's just gonna work their magic here and there, but not show up every single day, right? But you do want these people. They're like amazing. So what do you do with these folks? Well, it's not a training issue. They're just so capable. Iverson, you're gonna ask me to practice? No. With these people, they don't have a training issue. They have a discipline or commitment issue. So what you have to do is you have to coach them up and you have to motivate them with the right incentive. And it's not money. Most of the time, they don't want just more money. First, you got to acknowledge these people, right? Make them feel good about what they're doing. Like my parents never did that with me. You know, immigrant parents are not like saying, hey, good job, you know, you're the man. But like you should, when you're leading a team, when you're owner of the company, acknowledge these people, make them feel good, right? And then challenge them, right? They are motivated by challenges, right? So give them a challenge. Let's say you're talking to your salesperson. Hey, listen, you've had some $40,000 months, but like you're coasting at $20K a month now, right? And I think you have the ability to be one of the all-time greats on our team. You see that guy? He's been doing $500,000 in commissions for the last 2 years. You think you can do that? Well, if you do, you're gonna be the top, like here's some accolade, you know? You're gonna be a senior sales rep. I want you to become a senior sales rep, but I need you to collect this much over the next year, right? Challenge them, create an incentive. It doesn't even have to be money. It could be achievement. It could be some sort of challenge to prove themselves. And if you succeed in finding the right thing and challenging them with that right thing, then you're gonna have an A player in your midst. And the difference between an A player and a B player is just so much more. And with an A player, put a team around them. Unless they're a salesperson, because with salespeople, it's different skill sets. With sales management, is a different skill set from selling. And don't do that. I've made that mistake and I lost money with sales. I lost my top closers, top salespeople, because I put them in a management seat and they just lost. I had to fire him as a sales manager and then I had to eventually fire him as a salesperson, because when you demote people, you kill their morale. And yeah, you kind of just have to move on. It sucks. But when it comes to an operator, right? When you find an operator and you challenge them to put in what they're capable of and get them to commit and be disciplined, then you turn them into an A player. You put that person in that CEO seat, operator seat to actually run the company, and you create an incentive, you create ways for them to get into the company through vesting shares and whatnot. But like now you have a 10 out of 10 person, and the 10 out of 10 person, like look, if when you turn a B player into a player, they're not making you $2 million more, right? The B player is going to make you 1 or 2 million a year, but the A player is going to make you 10 or $30 million a year. Like if we're talking about Infobrand, like this is the difference I've seen. It's like a 5 times difference. And you know, like I've had B player operators, I've had C player operators, I've had 10 out of 10 operators, like A player operator. You can tell who's going to be an A player in like 2 months. 2-3 months. It might take you time to train them up. With my A player operator, by the way, they were here. They were very capable. I knew the capability. Yeah, okay, so if they're very capable, but may not just like have the discipline, you will like know very quickly this person's capable. And then you just have to challenge them to rise up here, right? Same thing over here. You'll know very quickly that, okay, this person is disciplined. I just need to increase their capacity. Like train them up. I need to train them up. And it might take 1 or 2 years to train them up so that they have the right skill set to be your operator. So they understand the business. They understand the industry, right? They understand all these things. They understand this and they understand all the different production system. It might take them 1 year of being your right-hand man or woman to learn all these things. And boom, you just put them in that seat and that's all they do. And you can then sit back in the visionary position, just make sure, you know, the market is looking good. You can invest your resources the right way. You meet with them once a week and just you look at the P&L that it's doing well, and you can run autopilot semi-passive business when you have the right person in charge. Otherwise, you know, if you have a C player in charge, you're gonna lose your business. If you have a B player in charge, you're gonna be okay. But when you have an A player, you could just sit back, relax, give them some skin in the game as well, give them a reason to stick around. And yeah, that's the place to be in. That's the dreamland. But you learn all this through the repetitions. But that's basically the framework I use. You have to find the right company to model. You have to build your production systems, and you get a great operator to run the production systems, run the team, and you're good to go. Hope you enjoyed, and you'll enjoy this next video as well.